Today we'll talk about the visual system. Visual system belongs to spatial senses. Part of your sensations, and the sensation of your body is divided into two types. One is called somato sensations, and another type of sensation that is called spatial senses. Okay, so those are two types of sensations: somatosensations and spatial senses. Somatosensations include touch, pain, temperature like heat or cold, hot or cold, pressure. So you have those sensations in your body, right? If someone touches, you can tell this is touch. If someone, pinch you, you can tell that's pain, right? So hot or cold, you can feel. So those are the somatosensations. Spatial senses include vision or sight, audition or hearing, gustation or taste, olfaction, also called smell. So sight or vision, hearing or audition, olfaction or smell, and gustation or taste. Those belong to spatial senses. And for spatial senses, you have special organs in your body. For spatial senses, you have what? Special organs. For your sight, which organs are special? Eyeballs. Make sense? For your hearing, ear, right? Smell, taste, tongue. Make sense? So you see, very specific organs, right, are for special senses. For somatosensations, you don't have specific organs, right? You feel touch everywhere in the body, right? So pain everywhere in the body. So we don't have specific or special organs for somatosensations. Today we'll talk about the vision, the very important special senses. And for vision, you have peripheral organs, those are eyeballs, and central part inside the central nervous system in your brain. So peripheral organs are the eyeballs or eyes, and central part where the signal is processed in the brain. So in the central nervous system. Okay, so we'll talk about the visual system. First we'll talk about the parts. We'll talk about the eye and its parts. We'll see inside the eye, inside the eyeball, how many chambers we have. We'll talk about the wall of the eyeball, how many layers we have in the wall of the eyeball. We'll talk about extrinsic eye muscles. Those muscles help to move your eyeballs, also called extraocular muscles. So extrinsic or extraocular muscles help to move your eye. Then we'll talk about the regulation of light. How much light should enter into the eye, that is controlled by the iris. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about the most important structure of your eyeball, that is called the retina. Retina is the what? Most important part of your eyeball. Why? Because retina contains the photoreceptors. Have you heard photoreceptors? Rods and anybody? Cones. Those are called photoreceptors, right? Located in the retina. So that's why retina is the most important structure, where you have the rods and cones. So we'll talk about the retina, and then we'll talk about the visual pathway. That means from the eye, how the signal is taken to the brain. You remember in the back of your occipital lobe, you have the primary visual cortex here. So from the eye, the signal should go all the way to the back of the occipital lobe. So how that signal travels, taken to the primary visual cortex. So first, if you see the eye, an eye has following structures: eyeball, eyebrows, eyelids, conjunctiva, lacrimal apparatus, extrinsic or extraocular eye muscles. Can you put your drink out? So those are the structures in your eye. And eyeball is of course the most important. You understand, right? Eyebrows, eyelids, those are of course important, but eyeballs are the most important parts of your eye. So this is how the eye looks like from outside. You can only see few structures of the eye. You can see the eyebrows, eyelids, eyelashes, and now if you see the eyeball, only a small part of your eyeball you can see from outside. Only this part, right? You see from outside. The white part is called the sclera. So you can see sclera. And this colored structure, round structure, that is called the iris. So you can also see the iris, and you see a dark hole in the center of the iris, that is called the pupil, and you can see that. So those are only three things you can see from outside. Extrinsic eye muscles or extraocular muscles. These muscles come from the bones around the eyeball and get attached to the eyeball. Now see, if this is your eyeball, the muscles come from the bones around, okay, and get attached to the eyeball from different directions. So there are 6 extrinsic eye muscles. How many? 6. 4 are called rectus. That means, rectus means straight, like this. Okay? 4 are rectus. Look at this. This is superior rectus, this is the eyeball. Superior rectus, inferior rectus, lateral rectus, medial rectus. Make sense? If this is my right eye, this is lateral, this is what? Medial. Now you tell me, if superior rectus comes from above and gets attached to the upper part of the eyeball, and when this muscle contracts, the eyeball will move which way? Up. Make sense? Inferior rectus contracts, down. Make sense? Lateral like this, medial like this. Okay. Now there are 2 oblique muscles going like this. Oblique. Okay. And oblique muscles help to do what? Rotate the eyeball. Make sense? Like this. Make sense? So rotation is helped by mainly the oblique muscles. Those are 6 extrinsic eye muscles. Now, those muscles are controlled by the cranial nerves come from your brain. Which cranial nerves control these muscles? We need to know. 3 cranial nerves control these muscles. So here, this is superior rectus, inferior rectus, lateral rectus, this is medial rectus, the other side, and 2 oblique. Superior oblique, inferior oblique. Okay? Now we'll see those 3 cranial nerves control these muscles. I'll ask you in the exam. Most important one is the oculomotor. Oculo means what? Eye. And motor means movement, right? Usually motor, movement. So its name is telling you, right? Oculomotor. That is the nerve, cranial nerve, helps to move the eyeball. This is the most important one. Why? Because oculomotor controls 4 of those 6 muscles. So 4 of them are controlled by oculomotor. Medial rectus, superior rectus, inferior oblique. Lateral rectus is controlled by abducens. Abducens nerve controls the lateral rectus, and trochlear nerve controls the superior oblique. So just remember these 3 cranial nerves, okay? These are very important to move your eyeball. Okay, now we'll see the structure of an eyeball. So if you see the structure of the eyeball, how many chambers it has inside? There are 2. Some books says 3. So if I ask you, just say 2. That will make your life easier. So this is the eyeball, okay? Outermost layer, and then, so outermost layer is the fibrous. Okay, number 1. Then you have another layer, that's the middle layer. Middle layer goes like this. Okay. So this is middle layer, which is called vascular layer because a lot of blood vessels, capillaries are present in this layer. So this is the vascular layer, number 2. And then you have the innermost one, which is only present in the back part, posterior part of the eyeball, not everywhere, only in the back part. And this is the innermost layer. This is called sensory layer. Okay? So those are the 3 layers of your, in the wall of the eyeball. Outermost is the fibrous layer. Outermost is the fibrous layer. And then middle layer is the vascular layer. Innermost is sensory layer. This is also called neural. Neural layer. Sensory or neural layer. Okay, so those are 3 layers. Now we'll see the outermost. If I ask you a simple question, among these 3 layers, which one protects your eyeball? Common fibers, because that's the outermost, right? So outermost layer is the fibrous layer that protects the eyeball, and it is the toughest layer. And this layer forms two structures, sclera and cornea. Okay, so sclera and cornea are the parts of the fibrous layer. Now we'll see. If you see the anterior 1/6 part of the outermost layer, the most front part, this part is transparent and is called cornea. So cornea is anterior 1/6 part of fibrous layer, most front part, and which is what? Transparent or opaque? Transparent. Okay. Cornea is highly transparent, so light can get in, and that's why it is in the front. Make sense? Light can easily get in. And rest part, which forms about 5th, 6th part, is opaque, not transparent, and that's the white part, okay, of the eye. That is called the sclera. Sclera is posterior 5th, 6th part. Okay, the anterior 1/6 is transparent cornea, and rest part is white, opaque, and that's the sclera. So those are the two structures of the fibrous layer. So now you think that light cannot enter from all directions because sclera is opaque. It will not let the light get in. Light can only enter through the cornea, front part of the eyeball. Okay, now let's see the vascular layer. Middle vascular layer has few structures in it. First we'll see this part. Most part of it is called choroid. Why this is called choroid? Because capillary. This is actually basically filled with capillaries, blood vessels. That's the most part of the middle layer. Make sense? Now you see the front part of the middle layer. Front part forms a number of structures. This structure here, I have shown here, ciliary body. Ciliary body. Okay? So, ciliary body. And then from ciliary body, suspensory ligaments, thin ligaments arise and get attached to the lens. Okay, so this is the lens of the eye. So you see, from ciliary bodies, suspensory ligaments arise and hold the lens in right location there. So let me write it down. These ligaments are called suspensory ligaments, okay, holding the lens in right location like this. Now let's see the most front part of vascular layer. You see, this one comes like this, and forms the iris. So this part of vascular layer is the iris. Now in the center of the iris, somebody is talking. Now in the center of the iris, there is a hole like this, aperture, and this is called the pupil. So this is basically a hole called what? Pupil. So that's the vascular layer. Make sense? So now let's quickly review. Vascular layer is middle layer, right? And most part of it is called what? Choroid. It has plenty of capillaries. Make sense? Now if you look at the front part, two structures like ciliary bodies, right? And from ciliary bodies, suspensory ligaments arise, right? To hold what? Hold the lens. Very good. Okay? And then most front part forms the iris. Is it clear? And in the center of the iris, you have what?
The pupil.
Pupil, the opening or hole. Now, make sure you know this is a longitudinal section. So everything you are looking is like 1/2 from the side. So basically, this iris, although from the side it looks like this, it is actually a round muscle, like this, hole inside. Now if I cut like this and see from the side, what I'll see like this. This hole. Make sense? If I look from the side. So you need to know that. It is actually, iris is a round muscle and hole is like this inside. Okay. Now we'll talk about the chambers. Inside the eyeball, you have two chambers. Smaller one is the anterior chamber here, and it is in the front of the lens. This is the lens. And posterior chamber is this big one behind the lens. So this is posterior chamber and this is anterior chamber. Okay? And two chambers contain two different types of fluid. Two different types of fluid. Anterior chamber contains water-like fluid, and that is called aqueous humor. Like water, you know, aquatic part, right? You go to water part. So aqueous humor means fluid. Humor means fluid. Make sense? So aqueous humor in the anterior chamber. Posterior chamber is much bigger. It's behind the lens and filled with a jelly-like fluid. So it's thick, jelly-like fluid. And that is called vitreous humor. So now you see the slide, aqueous humor and vitreous humor. Which one is water-like? Aqueous. And which one is jelly-like? Vitreous. Make sense? Now, if I ask you, what's the function of the fluid? What's the function of the fluid inside the eyeball? Number one, very simple. It gives the shape of the eyeball, right? Because it is filled with fluid, so it is round. Make sense? If fluid is not there, then it will squeeze. It will squeeze. So, gives the shape of the eyeball, number one. Make sense? Number two, this is very important. You know that this sensory neural layer is innermost layer, which is actually this one, innermost layer, this one. Remember, this is very important. This layer is actually retina. Retina of the eye, innermost. And the fluid, vitreous humor, this fluid keeps the retina attached to the wall of the eyeball. If the pressure goes down here, if the amount of fluid decreases, the pressure goes down, that sometimes causes detachment of the retina. Have you heard that? Retinal detachment gets detached from the wall. So that pressure of Aqueous Humor keeps it attached to the wall. Okay. Now if the pressure drops, then there is a chance that it will come off. Okay. So it's not very strongly attached. Okay. So that is another important function of your vitreous humor. Okay. So that is the structure of the eyeball. Okay. So here you see again 1, 2, 3, and this is the sclera, cornea, and this is the middle vascular layer, choroid, ciliary body, suspensory ligaments, iris, pupil. Okay. And this is the lens held there by the suspensory ligaments. And then this is the anterior chamber, this is the posterior chamber. And this is the innermost sensory layer, that's the retina. Okay. It is not present everywhere, only in the posterior part. Okay. Now, the lens is a flexible lens. That means what? Changes the shape. Make sense? So this is the lens, biconvex, like this, and changes its shape. Now see, if I see this pen and my lens is like this, when I move it away, it gets smaller, right? As you move it further, it gets smaller. And your lens gets more flat. And when I bring closer, lens gets more what? Round. Away, flat. Closer, round. Make sense? So, when I am looking at this and moving this, my lens is changing its shape. Make sense? The purpose is focusing the light. This is the pen. Just think that this is the marker here. This is the marker. Okay. The light is going like this, and the lens does what? Focuses the light exactly on the retina. Here. That's the function of the lens, focusing the light exactly on the retina. Now, when it is closer, the size is big, so you have to do what? Bend more. Make sense? Now, if I move it away, it looks now very small. So, to focus this light, you don't need to bend a lot. Small amount of refraction is enough. So that's why the lens changes the shape. Okay? Round lens can refract or bend more, flat lens less. Make sense? So when I bring closer, needs to refract more, right? Bend more. So the lens gets round. Okay? When I move away, it's flat because needs to bend less. The goal is what? Everybody? The goal is putting the light exactly on the, on what? Retina. Okay? That is important. Now, if your lens is not flexible enough, or your lens has some problem, it cannot focus the light exactly on the retina, the person will see blurry, will not see it clearly. So to see the things clearly, the light should be focused exactly on the retina. Make sense? That is the most important thing here. Light must be focused exactly on the retina. If it is not, then you won't see clear. To see clear, it should be exactly on the retina. Sometimes that happens. your lens fails to focus the light exactly on the retina. Instead, it may focus here or behind. In both cases, the person will not see clearly. So what should be the goal? Bringing the focus where? Back here. Make sense? And that's why you use what? The glasses. Extra lens, right? To move this back on the retina. Make sense? So very simple. The goal is bringing the focus point exactly on the retina. If it is behind the lens, behind the retina, you have to move it this way. If it is in front, you have to move that way. Opposite direction, right? So that's why we use two different types of glasses. Convex and concave. Okay? Convex can bring it forward and concave move back. Make sense? So that's why we use two different lenses depending on the location of the focus of the light. Okay. So that is the eyeball. Now we'll see the retina. Okay. If you see the retina, the most important structure, right, I have mentioned. So if you see the structure of the retina, in the center of the retina, where you have the cones present. So these are the cones, photoreceptor cones. Okay? And this area is called macula lutea, where you have cones, one type of photoreceptors. And the very center point of the macula lutea is called fovea centralis. So this pointed very center part is called fovea centralis. In fovea centralis, you have the cones in highest density. That means huge number of cones are present, heavily packed. Make sense? In highest what? Highest density, right? That means it's a huge number of cones are present in that tiny area. Make sense? That's the fovea centralis. Okay. Highest density cones in that tiny area, that is called fovea centralis. And then if you see the outer part of retina, you will see the larger photoreceptors. These are called the rods. These are rods. So cones and rods are the photoreceptors. Make sense? Okay, good. Now, in human retina, how many different types of cones you have? Anybody? You have any idea? Yes. What are those? Red, blue, green. 3 types of cones in human retina. Okay? So, you have red. You have red cones. Blue cones and green cones. RBG. Do you remember RBG? red, green, blue. Yes.
Is that what comes color blindness?
We'll talk about that. Okay. Sometimes when you use the computer color thing, you'll see RBG, red, green, blue, right? The basic colors. Basic colors. Okay. So those are the cones. That means what? When I said that 3 types of cones, red, green, blue, right? The cones look red, green, or blue? What do you think? No, because the cells all look from outside same. They don't have color, right? Why we say red, green, blue?
That's what you see.
Some cones, yeah, the light wavelength, right? You know, the light is actually electromagnetic wave. You know that, right? If shortest length, they look blue. Medium size, green. Longer length, red. Make sense? So, some cones can absorb short wavelengths. Those are blue. Okay? Some cones absorb medium length wave, green, right? And some cones absorb long length wave, red. Make sense? Cones don't look red, green, blue. They can absorb the length, different lengths of light. Okay. Now you know the term color blindness. Have you heard that?
Yep.
Okay. Color blindness is a genetic disorder. Comes from the parents, most of the cases, and depending on which type of cones are absent, we give the name. The deficiency, if someone has red cones absent, right? Green and blue are there, we'll say red color blindness. Make sense? So depending on which type of cones are absent, that's the deficiency. So the cones are responsible for a few things you need to know. Cones are responsible for color vision that I have mentioned, you already know now. Color vision, number 1. Number 2, visual acuity. And number 3, bright light or daylight. We also use the term daylight vision. So if I ask you, what are the important functions of your cones? These are the functions. Color vision, to see the things in color, right? What is visual acuity? Anybody? Visual acuity. What is this? When you go to eye doctor, eye doctor put a chart, right?
It's like
How small, right?
Yeah.
You can see clearly.
That makes sense.
Make sense? Very simple. How small you can see clearly. That's the visual acuity. Okay. So now your doctor will give you to read the letters, right? Ask you to read what? The letters. But that's not the purpose. Reading the letter is not the purpose, right? Purpose is what? How small you can see clearly. So if you go to a village in Africa, in a remote area where people cannot read, would you show them the letters? They won't be able to read anything, right? So you can see the symbols, right? A tree or a house or something else, or a fish, right? They can tell. So the purpose is how small you can see in fine detail clearly. That's the acuity. Bright light vision. The cones help you to see in plenty of light, in presence of plenty of light. in dim light, at night, cones are not helpful. Make sense? So, to see, now you tell me if I say that cones help you to see in bright light, in presence of plenty of light, and rods help you to see in dim light. So, if I ask you this question, that which ones, cones or rods, are more sensitive to light? Think and tell me. More sensitive to light.
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So to stimulate the cones, you need what? Plenty of light. To stimulate the rods, you need a small amount of light.
So it's not like the darts.
So rods are more sensitive, right? Small amount of light can stimulate the rods, right? But to stimulate the cones, you need what? Plenty of light. So rods are more sensitive to light. And rods are located in the outer part of the retina, and cones are located in the very center part of the retina. And to see the things clearly, you all know, you have to look what? If I ask you to read very tiny letters, you have to look straight, right? When you look straight, light goes to the which part of the retina? Center, right? Make sense? So, where you have the cones. Make sense? So, cones will help you to read very small things. Okay, so that's the retina. Now, there is another structure in the retina which is a little bit off from the center. Here. And this part has no rods and cones. No rods and cones. And this part is called what? Have you heard this? Why this is called blind spot? Because no rods, no cones, no photoreceptors. That's why this area is called the blind spot. Another name of it is optic disc. Blind spot or optic disc. Is it clear? Make sense? Okay. You want to give me some money? No?
I mean, listen, man. If you really want like absolutely nothing, because that's all I have in number, then I mean, sure.
Okay. So, so he doesn't want to give me.
Pretty broke. I'm telling you right now, pretty broke. It's pretty sick.
Okay. What happened to you?
It's a long story.
We don't want to listen in long. We don't have that much time.
Actually, it's pretty short hours.
I
No,
hope you
Jeff.
didn't sleep
No.
too much. I slept at 2 o'clock.
Did you get pulled over?
Oh,
Most of the nights I sleep at 2.
you went to bed at 2? And
I do.
you're alive
All
right
the
now?
time?
Dude, same.
I sleep 4 hours.
4 hours? Robot?
Maximum.
I sleep too, but not on purpose.
That's every- Okay.
Raise the standard.
No, standard is at least 8. Right? Okay. So, why there is no rods and cones? Why this is blind spot? Because the optic nerve, you see here, this is the optic nerve and blood vessels. These are the blood vessels, arteries, veins, are attached to this area. So arteries get in, veins get out, and optic nerve is also attached here. That's why this area has no rods and cones, and that is called the blind spot or optic disc. Okay? And this is the macula lutea, fovea centralis. Okay? So that is the retina, very important structure of your eye. Okay. Now we'll talk about the iris. Iris has a hole inside, and that's called the pupil. You already know. So this is the iris, and this is the pupil. Now if you see the muscle fibers, iris is a muscular structure, and remember your color of the eye is given by the iris, because iris has pigments, and the color of the pigment in your iris gives the color of your eye. You know, it's a blue eye or green eye, right? Or brown eye, because of the pigments in the iris. Someone has brown pigment, that is the brown eye, okay? Blue pigments, blue eye. So that is one thing. And this is the iris, this is the pupil, and